Here's Brody Brazil.
Okay, let me just say this from the very start of this video. I certainly hope that fans of the Rays and Astros and Orioles don't take what I'm about to say and show too personally. Because it is about their stadiums and their teams and their fan bases and playoff games where the seats just were not full anywhere close to capacity. And it brings some questions, but I'm really here to say I think this is more of a Major League Baseball issue than it is about any of these individual markets. I don't think it's a statement towards the fan bases. I think it's a bigger picture thing because after all, if it's happening in multiple places over multiple years, there must be more to it. And that brings us actually back to last year. I know we're about to talk about the games of October 1st yesterday here in 2024, but let's actually go all the way back about 365 days ago, the AL Wild Card Series between the Texas Rangers and Tampa Bay Rays. This was Game 1, a 3:07 Eastern start. We know that the Rangers went on to win the World Series, and the Rays did not advance even past this series. But as for the Rays, they were hosting Game 1, and Tampa at the time, they were coming off a really good regular season. Last year, they almost won 100 games. They were the number 4 seed in the playoffs. They had just made their 5th straight playoffs. Obviously, that streak did not continue this year. They had just announced a term sheet for a brand new stadium right next to the Trop. So a lot of good feelings and vibes and optimism. By the way, that stadium's still going through the process, hasn't broken ground yet. But again, this had all just kind of unfolded. There was a lot of momentum for the Rays. They had a 58% chance to advance past this series and go on and play the Baltimore Orioles. Obviously, they didn't because Texas did. Texas, again, went on to win the entire World Series. But this is what Game 1 at the Trop looked like last year. The official announced attendance, and I don't even know what the actual attendance was, but the announced attendance was 19,704. And that was the lowest announced attendance for an MLB postseason game since the year 1919. And that in itself is kind of apples and oranges. The different stadiums, the different era, the fact that I think there was a pandemic still going on in 1919. And so it just goes to show you that is the first playoff game for the Rays at the start of last postseason. Okay, fast forward to this year and just yesterday. Wild card round, Game 1 between the Tigers and Astros in Houston. The Astros lose this game 3-1. There's the announced attendance of 40,617. And by the way, the capacity down there in Texas is 41,000. So you do the math and think there's about 380 seats that are empty. Well, look at that third deck. I mean, even look at that second deck. Look at that first deck. There are significant portions and rows of seats wide open, and especially that top deck. I mean, if you think about the numbers alone of what the actual attendance is there, if it really does seat 41,000, the numbers there are way off. And I understand the difference between announced attendance and tickets purchased versus actual attendance, but the actual attendance, to me, here in this case, is all that matters. This is a playoff game. This is the biggest stage. These are the games that matter the most compared to anything else that's happened in the Astros season. But it wasn't just down in Texas. And by the way, first pitch at 1:34 Central Time. Think about that, and it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 on the West Coast. What's the audience even like on television? If we're doing this for television, if we're layering these games and sequencing these playoff games, of which there were four playoff games on the 1st of October, very first day of the postseason, how many potential eyeballs even are out there at 11:34 Pacific Time, 12:34 Mountain Time, 1:34 Central Time, and 2:34 Eastern Time on a Tuesday, right? So that's Houston. Let's move over a time zone. Now we're in the Eastern time zone. At Camden Yards, the Baltimore Orioles get shut out to the Royals 1-0. Also a wild card Game 1 of the round and of the series. The announced attendance, 41,506. The capacity, 45,971. So maybe this one a little bit more realistic, and the Orioles fans greatly standing out in orange. I love that. I love the way they've done it. but it also highlights all those green areas of seats. And I mean, even look at behind the third base dugout there. Like the same section, if you go up that row of seats right by the third base coach's box there, look at that big chunk. How about the entire sections, or at least half of them, straight above the left field foul pole there? That's a lot of empty seats. And they've shrunk Camden Yards a little bit. They've taken away seats to make more room, I should say, on the field to bring back the left field fence back a little bit. But this one, maybe there is a difference of 4,000 or so empty seats, but it certainly feels like more than that. And again, I'm not here to point the finger and say, Orioles fans, where are you at? You should have shown up and showed out a lot more. And this game started at 4:08 p.m. Eastern time. So a little bit more convenient to the workday. Maybe people take a half day off of work the second half and they show up to the baseball game. At least this one in person was a little bit more convenient. But what's going on here? Playoff games in Major League Baseball that are not sold out. Here was my take on X, and I think this kind of sums it up, and then I'll get to some real takeaways in just a second too. I said, I fully comprehend Tuesday afternoon baseball games are difficult to attend. I'm not blaming the fans. Again, people have jobs and lives, but MLB and its teams should do a better job either to rethink the playoff schedule or make sure the stadiums are packed. I'm talking like $10 tickets, whatever it takes to make sure you can get butts in the seats. Otherwise, it's just a bad look in October. So here are my takeaways. Number one, I know what baseball's trying to achieve. Almost like March Madness, where there's a game starting every 30 to 45 minutes, and you can watch the end of one, and then it kind of dumps you off right into the middle of the next one, halftime of the next one, or third quarter of the next one. I see what baseball is trying to do. And actually, when you think about it, 4 games on any given day here in the early stages, right, with all the wild card teams playing, you add up 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, that's 12 hours of baseball. So you can't realistically do it from 10 in the morning to 10 at night in any time zone because of the obvious differences. So you do have to overlap a little bit. But if you're going to overlap a little bit, why not overlap a lot and put all of these games in respective primetime scenarios? I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, hey, baseball fans can get their fix. They can literally watch all day long, which is nice, but is there even that full audience available to watch at 11:30 a.m. at the start of that Astros game? I know it's a different time and that more people are working at home than maybe ever before. This also isn't 2020 when everybody was at home. I don't know what baseball is trying to achieve here by stretching this out and making it a day-long experience. That's nice. I appreciate that. I realize it. But in the end, are you maximizing the amount of people watching your games? And maybe what you need to do is one of those red zone scenarios and situations. Maybe baseball's even more exciting if there was a channel, a playoff channel or a playoff option that had 3 games going on at once. Instead of one game, you got to watch the next one, then you got to watch the next one. Because what we're resulting in here is, I don't know what ratings are like. I don't know if the network's like this, but do you ever see playoff games attended like this in the NBA or the NFL or the NHL? Do you ever see that many empty seats in playoff games? Now, granted, you could say that in the NFL, they don't have playoff series. But in basketball and hockey, they still have playoff series. I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of playoff hockey games, and I've watched a lot of playoff basketball, and I don't ever recall seeing that many empty seats. And so, is this costing baseball? Probably not. You'd have to think they are making the optimal financial decision behind the scenes. You'd have to think that money is dictating why they're doing this. But how about just the optics of empty seats? And when they do show a crowd shot, or when you do see tweets like those, you kind of wonder, I mean, what's going on here and what's going on with baseball? And again, this is not to be too harsh on any of those 3 fan bases which I have depicted here, or those markets. This has been happening in a lot of places. Now, I will say, the last time it happened to the Oakland A's in 2019, it was an early, I think it was a 5 o'clock first pitch or 4-something first pitch, and there was 54,000 people at the Oakland Coliseum, and that was the last ever playoff game they'll ever have there. 2019 wildcard game, not series, against the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I know they had the 2020 playoffs there, but remember, no fans were in attendance against the White Sox. So I don't understand this. Maybe you do. If you do, if you like this or if you're okay with this or you have some excuses, that's fine. Put them down there in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. But I just can't figure out why baseball insists on stretching these games out, putting them at odd times, pack the place, and also play the games when the most people are home from work or they're available to watch. I mean, I realize it's football season, and you might run into some of these cases like on a Saturday. Sequencing the games are fine. That's even during the college football season. But like on a Tuesday and a Tuesday night, no basketball yet. The hockey regular season is not here. You've got the whole day to yourself. You've got the whole night to yourself. There's nothing else really going on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or even a Friday. No, there's Thursday night football. Baseball. Put the games later, pack the stadiums, get more viewership. I don't think it's that hard, but maybe that doesn't matter. You made it here to the end of this video. Really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That helps me and this video and this channel. I would like that, but I would love it even more if you just take one quick second before this video ends. Go down there and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. That way I definitely get to see you back here next time.